Imagine checking your banking app right now and seeing $38 left in your account. 7 days remain until your next paycheck. Right now, you're standing in the discount aisle of a grocery store, holding a loaf of bread that expires tomorrow, doing painful mental math over a couple of dollars. That $38 is literally all that's left from a $2,600 paycheck. You worked hard for 2 full weeks, you earned that money, and this is all you have to show for it. So ask yourself a serious question. If your salary suddenly doubled tomorrow, would your life actually change? Or would you just spend twice as much, buy slightly nicer things, and still end up counting down the days until your next payday? This video is about that exact question. It follows the story of a low-wage warehouse worker living on the edge of survival and the single, life-altering afternoon that completely rewired the way he thought about money, work, and freedom. What he learned didn't just transform his bank account, it completely transformed his life. And if you're tired of feeling trapped by your finances, it might just change yours too. If you've ever felt like your paycheck vanishes into thin air before you even understand where it went, stay until the very end of this video. Because the real problem keeping you broke is almost never where you think it is. Think about how the routine starts. You wake up at 6 in the morning to an alarm you dread. You walk to work not because you want the exercise, but because even bus fare is a line item in your budget you have to think twice about. All day long, heavy cardboard boxes press into your shoulders. Forklifts hum constantly around you, kicking up dust. When lunchtime comes, you eat alone in a quiet corner of the break room because eating out at a local diner or grabbing drive-thru isn't something your wallet allows. By the time you clock out and walk home, your legs ache, your lower back is tight, and your shirt is soaked through with sweat. And after all that brutal physical labor, your paycheck barely carries you to the next payday with absolutely nothing left over. You joke about it with your coworkers during break time. You laugh and say, "Man, we aren't working for money anymore, we're just working for food." Everyone laughs along with you, but nobody actually thinks it's funny, because deep down, everyone knows it's the painful, honest truth. Your apartment sits on the rough edge of town. The ceiling leaks near the window whenever it rains hard, and the old heater barely pumps enough warm air on freezing nights. Some evenings you skip dinner entirely, just to make sure you have enough cash for transportation and basic expenses the next morning. But as you work your shifts at the warehouse, you start noticing something odd. There are a few older workers on the floor who have been there for well over a decade. They drive the same reliable, beaten-up sedans. They wear the same worn-out work boots year after year. Yet they never once complain about money the way the younger crew does. They don't panic when hours get cut, and they don't talk about being broke. You used to look at them and assume they simply lacked ambition, that they never made much progress in life. It never once occurred to you that their quiet, steady stability might actually be a different kind of success than the flashy lifestyle you were chasing. You see, the hidden trap keeping you pulled backward isn't actually the size of your paycheck. It's what happens on the exact day that money lands in your account. The moment your direct deposit hits on Friday evening, your phone starts buzzing. Your friends are texting and calling, telling you to come out. They tell you, "Man, work was brutal this week. Life is short. You only live once. You deserve to blow off some steam." And without thinking twice, you go out. You hit the local bars. You order drinks you can't really afford and food that costs twice as much as it should. You take group photos under bright neon lights to make the night look perfect. Sometimes on payday afternoon, you even stop by a store to buy a new pair of sneakers or a jacket you don't actually need just so no one around you suspects you're struggling. For a few short hours, you feel important. You feel successful. You feel like you're living the same comfortable American dream as everyone else. But if you actually sat down the next morning, opened your banking app, and added up the real cost of that single night out, it would come out to almost $120. Think about that math for a second. That is nearly 5% of your entire monthly income wiped out in a single 4-hour evening. And while it was happening, you never once looked at it that way. You never looked at it that way because no one ever taught you to view money in terms of hours of your life worked instead of just dollars spent. A week later, reality comes crashing back in. Your wallet is empty, your checking account is near zero, your fridge is stripped down to condiments and cheap canned goods. Once again, you start quietly counting down the agonizing days until the next paycheck arrives. And when it does, the exact same cycle happens all over again.
To make matters worse, a few of your friends always seem to have things figured out better than you. They get the newest iPhone every year, drive nice leased cars, and post photos of vacation trips and shopping bags that make their lives look completely effortless online. You used to envy them quietly, scrolling through your feed at night wondering how on earth they afford it all on hourly wages that aren't much different from your own. What you didn't fully understand yet is that looking comfortable and actually being financially secure are two completely different things. Most people around you are working just as hard to perform and hide their debt as you are to hide your struggle. One chilly afternoon, walking home exhausted after a long 10-hour shift, you pass a small family restaurant. The rich smell of roasted meat and warm bread fills the street. Your stomach growls so loudly it hurts. You reach into your pocket, pull out your crumpled bills and coins, and realize you only have enough for a cheap, discounted loaf of bread from the corner market. You stand outside the restaurant window for a long moment, watching families and couples laugh and enjoy warm meals you can't afford. And then you quietly turn around and walk away in the cold. That night, you lie awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself the same painful question over and over. Why do I work so hard every single day if my life never actually moves forward? The next month plays out identically. Paycheck arrives, going out, spending money, empty wallet, waiting again. Your life is turned into a hamster wheel that never stops spinning. If you drew your spending pattern on a piece of paper, it would look like a sharp spike right after payday, followed by a steep, terrifying drop, and then a flat, dead line for the last 7 days of the cycle. You just never had a name for it before. People call it living paycheck to paycheck. But hearing that phrase on the news or in podcasts never quite prepares you for what it actually feels like to be trapped inside it month after month with no end in sight. Then, one Saturday evening, a single moment shatters your entire worldview. Walking home through your neighborhood, you hear loud shouting down the street. As you get closer, you see an angry landlord standing outside an apartment gate, red-faced and furious. Standing on the sidewalk beside him is a terrified tenant, standing next to two worn suitcases that hold literally everything his family owns. The landlord is yelling at the top of his lungs, "I've given you enough time. You work every single day, but you never have the rent money. If you can't pay your bills, get out and go build your own house somewhere else." The tenant's wife begins to cry silently. Their little daughter grips her mother's dress tightly, terrified. The man lowers his head in deep embarrassment and whispers that he will have the money next month. The landlord shakes his head angrily and shouts, "I hear that every single month. You work hard, man, but you never plan." You stand completely frozen on the sidewalk. Those words weren't directed at you, but they hit you like a physical punch to the chest. You work, but you never plan. You look down at your own worn-out work boots. You look down the street toward the tiny room you rent, and a chilling thought creeps into your mind. What if that's me one day? What if I'm the one standing on the sidewalk with my life packed into 2 bags? That fear stays with you the entire walk home. It sits in your chest like a heavy weight you can't put down. For the very first time, a light bulb goes off in your head. It was never just the size of your paycheck keeping you trapped. It was what you chose to do with that paycheck the moment it landed in your hands. The next morning, instead of sleeping in or watching TV, you get up and walk to the local public library. You've lived in the city for years, but you've never actually stepped foot inside. Tall rows of bookshelves surround you. People sit quietly reading at long wooden tables. You wander down the aisles until one book title catches your eye, a guide on building real wealth on a modest income. You check out the book, take it home, and sit at your kitchen table. The very first chapter shocks you because it doesn't promise overnight riches, crypto tricks, or get-rich-quick schemes. It states a simple, brutal truth. A small paycheck is not your biggest problem. The total absence of a financial plan is. You sit with that sentence for an hour because it describes your entire existence. Further down the page, a short passage stops you dead in your tracks. It reads, "If you save just $20 a week and allow it to build slowly over time, compounding consistent returns, that tiny habit can turn into tens of thousands of dollars without you ever doing anything heroic at all. Just $20, week after week, left alone to build momentum." You read that paragraph 3 times. It feels almost too simple to be true, yet nothing about it sounds like a sales trick. It is the first time in your life anyone has explained money to you in a way that didn't feel like a lecture, a scolding, or a pitch. When your next paycheck hits your bank account on Friday, you don't go to the bar. When your friends text asking where you are, you tell them you're staying home. They laugh and ask what's wrong with you, teasing that you've gotten old and boring. You laugh along with them and think to yourself, "No, I just don't want my future disappearing in a single weekend anymore." That night, for the first time in years, you cook a simple meal at home. You pull out a cheap notebook and start writing down every single expense: rent, groceries, bus fare, utilities, and savings. For the first time in your adult life, your hard-earned money actually has a clear purpose attached to it before you spend a single dime. You mentally divide your paycheck into 4 clear categories: essential needs like rent and utilities, savings, guilt-free fun with a small, realistic cash limit, and an emergency fund that you promise yourself you will never touch unless it's a life or death situation. You start looking at money differently in every single area of your life. You stop looking at price tags in terms of dollars and start calculating them in hours of labor. A new pair of shoes that costs $80 isn't just an $80 price tag anymore. You realize that $80 represents a full 8-hour shift on your feet, lifting heavy boxes, inhaling warehouse dust, and straining your back. Once you start measuring every single purchase in hours of your own physical labor instead of numbers on a receipt, spending money carelessly becomes almost impossible.
Days turn into weeks. The changes feel small and agonizingly slow. Some mornings you want to give up and sleep in. Some Friday nights you feel a deep urge to go out and party with your friends again. You almost buy a pair of expensive brand name sneakers one afternoon just because everyone around you wears them. But right before you walk to the register, you picture that family standing on the sidewalk with their suitcases, and you quietly put the shoes back on the shelf and walk out. Then, about 6 weeks into your new routine, a real test hits. The tire on your commuter bike blows out, and an unexpected utility bill shows up in the mail. Just like that, your tiny, hard-earned emergency fund gets completely wiped out in a single week. For a day or two, you feel overwhelmed by that old, familiar feeling of hopelessness. You think, see, what's the point? The system is rigged, and none of this budgeting stuff is ever going to work anyway. But instead of throwing in the towel and going on a spending spree, you open your notebook, take a deep breath, and rebuild your numbers from where you actually are, not from where you wish you were. That decision, choosing to adjust your plan instead of quitting when life threw a punch, was the exact moment your financial life actually changed. Around this time, you begin to realize something profound about human nature. You look back and see how much mental energy and money you used to waste just trying to maintain the appearance of doing fine, posting pictures, buying drinks to fit in, and choosing restaurants based on how impressive they looked rather than how much they cost. All of that exhausting social pressure simply vanishes the moment you stop performing for an audience that was never really paying close attention to you in the first place. It turns out most people are far too consumed with stressing over their own lives, debt, and image to spend time judging yours. You begin waking up an hour before sunrise, not because an employer forces you to, but because you are actively choosing to become a different person. You make your bed, eat a simple breakfast, and read 10 pages of a book before heading out the door. You quietly repeat a simple mantra to yourself every morning, one day at a time. At the warehouse, your physical environment hasn't changed at all. You're still stacking the same heavy boxes and earning the exact same hourly wage, but inside your mind, a massive shift has taken place. During lunch breaks, while other workers sit around complaining about management and low pay, you open your notebook. You write down ideas for small side hustles, calculate savings milestones, and map out goals. A coworker looks over your shoulder, laughs, and asks, "What, you think writing in that notebook is going to make you rich?" You look up, smile, and say, "Maybe not rich today, but it's definitely going to stop me from staying poor." You track every dollar with a level of discipline you never had before. It feels uncomfortable at first to see the cold, hard numbers written on paper instead of just guessing, but that discomfort quickly transforms into a profound sense of control. Payday now follows an automatic discipline system. Rent and fixed bills get paid first, basic groceries second, savings third, and only then do you touch what's left. At first, your savings account grows painfully slow. Some months it feels almost pointless to transfer $20 or $50, but you keep remembering that line from the library book. Never disrespect small savings because one day they become big opportunities. Months stack on top of months, and a full year passes. For the very first time in your adult life, you reach the final day of the month with a substantial buffer of money still sitting safely in your checking account. You look at your screen in disbelief. You aren't smiling because you became a millionaire overnight. You're smiling because you finally took full ownership of your life. Your old friends are still trapped in the exact same cycle, celebrating every payday, maxing out credit cards, and borrowing money before the next check arrives. One evening, they invite you out and tell you, "Man, you've changed. You never have any fun with us anymore." You look at them, smile gently, and say, "I still have plenty of fun, but now I sleep peacefully at night knowing that tomorrow's bills are already taken care of."
Looking back, reaching that 1-year mark didn't feel like a stroke of luck. It felt like undeniable proof that a structured financial system actually works. The money itself didn't magically solve all your problems, but it gave you the quiet confidence of knowing that if an emergency hit, a broken appliance, a medical bill, or a slow month at work, you wouldn't be standing in a grocery store aisle counting pennies for a loaf of bread. Years pass. You double down on your personal growth. You check out books on personal finance, business fundamentals, real estate, and investing. You keep waking up before sunrise, not out of stress, but because discipline has simply become who you are. You work hard at your day job, and you spend your evenings learning and building. Slowly and quietly, you launch a tiny side hustle from your home. Nothing flashy, nothing fast. Some months it barely generates any profit at all, but you don't give up because you vividly remember what your old life felt like and you refuse to ever go back. There are setbacks along the way. 1 year, a downturn in the local economy nearly wipes out your side business entirely, forcing you to tighten your personal budget back down to the bare bones just like when you first started. But instead of panicking or viewing it as a failure, you handle it the exact same way you handled that blown-out bike tire years earlier. You adjust your numbers, keep your notebook open, and keep moving forward 1 week at a time. Over time, your steady savings and side hustle profits accumulate into a solid pile of capital. That money becomes the down payment on a modest piece of real estate. Years later, that property gets fixed up and becomes your very first rental unit. The monthly cash flow from that single investment helps you save for a second property and eventually a third. You never rush the process, you never borrow money recklessly, and you never buy expensive things just to flex or impress strangers. You build your life slowly, carefully, and patiently. You still live well below your means, you still cook simple meals at home, and you still plan every dollar with the exact same discipline you had on day one.
Around this time, you happen to run into one of your old crew members, the friend whose life used to look so successful and effortless on social media. His shiny leased car is gone, replaced by an old beat-up sedan with a dented bumper. Over a cup of coffee, he admits to you honestly for the first time in his life that credit card debt and high-interest loans finally caught up with him. He lost his car, wrecked his credit score, and had to move back in with family to start over from absolute zero. He looks at you, genuinely amazed by the quiet stability you've built, and asks, "How did you actually do it? What was the secret?" You look at him and tell him the blunt truth. There was no secret shortcut. There was no big breakthrough. It was just 1,000 small, boring, disciplined decisions repeated over a very long time. He stares at his coffee cup, sighs deeply, and says, "Man, I really wish someone had explained that to me 10 years ago." You look at him, put a hand on his shoulder, and say, "It's not too late. You can start making those decisions today." And for the first time, he actually believes it. Eventually, the day comes when you finish building your own modest, custom home. The afternoon you finally receive the keys, you walk inside and stand completely alone in the middle of the empty, sunlit living room. Standing there in the silence, memories flood back. You remember every single night you went to bed hungry to save bus fare. Every Friday night your hard-earned paycheck vanished in a blur of fake fun. And every hidden tear you shed in the dark because you thought you were destined to be broke forever. You look around the room, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and quietly whisper, "Thank you." A few weeks later, your mother comes over to visit your new home for the first time. She walks slowly through every single room, touching the clean drywall and running her hand gently along the kitchen counter. Suddenly, she stops, covers her face, and begins to cry softly. You walk over, concerned, and ask, "Mom, what's wrong?" Through her tears, she smiles, looks up at you, and says, "When you were younger, working those grueling warehouse shifts, I used to stay awake at night terrified that life was going to break you. I was so worried your paycheck would never be enough to give you a decent life. I was wrong." You wrap your arms around her and hold her close. Neither of you needs to say another word, because true love doesn't need a script.
Today, the people in your community don't see a struggling, broke worker. They see a respected business owner, a wise investor, and a compassionate landlord who treats his tenants with genuine empathy and respect. Whenever one of your tenants falls on hard times due to a real-life emergency, a job loss, or an illness, you never shout at them or threaten them, because every time you look at a struggling family, you still vividly remember that frightened tenant standing on the sidewalk with his life packed into 2 suitcases all those years ago. You never forget where you came from. Looking back across your entire journey, you realize something profound. The hardest part of building wealth was never the math. Saving $20 a week isn't mathematically complex. Cooking your own meals at home isn't complex. What was actually hard was enduring the emotional discomfort of staying home while everyone else went out to party. The hard part was wearing the same old shoes for one more season and having the courage to be the only person in the room living differently. The financial strategy was simple. The emotional discipline to stick to the plan when no one else believed in you. That was the real battle. So many people go through their entire lives believing that a small paycheck is the sole reason they can't build wealth. But the problem isn't the size of your paycheck, it is the total absence of a plan. Your income wasn't the first thing that changed, your daily habits were. You stopped trying to look rich and you started actually becoming financially free. Real wealth is never built in a single payday. It gets built one disciplined decision at a time, one saved dollar at a time, one consistent habit at a time. Remember this, you don't need to earn $1 million a year to start changing your future today. You simply need to become a faithful master over the money you already have. Because a single paycheck can feed you for a month, but financial wisdom will feed you for a lifetime. So let me leave you with one final question to think about today. When your very next paycheck lands in your bank account, will it vanish into thin air? Or will it become the very first brick of your financial freedom? If this story spoke to you today, do not just close this video and go back to business as usual. Take action right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive story like this. We publish videos every week designed to help you master your mindset, break free from the paycheck to paycheck cycle, and build real, lasting freedom. Drop a comment below right now and tell me, what is the one bad spending habit or mindset you are committing to change starting this week? I read every single comment and I want to hear your story. Your next paycheck could be the official turning point of your entire life. Subscribe now, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and I'll see you in the very next video.